They moved more people out of poverty in less time than any unit in history, and they're facing this challenge. The Russians basically are immensely gifted. They just have to decide whether they're going to be a great 21st century country or keep trying to replicate the glories of the Tsar. It's a governance issue, a democracy issue, a human rights issue. The Brazilians, I think, are doing the best job. And I'll give you two examples, not because they indicate problems solved, but they indicate the kinds of things that those of us who are older, who have served, could do for other countries. That I go to Brazil a lot because my climate change initiative does a lot of work in Brazilian cities. A couple of years ago, I got the most astonishing invitation from the 2,000 or 3,000 member association of people who make ethanol out of sugarcane. It's the most successful biofuel in the world. They get 9.3 gallons of fuel for every 1 gallon of oil. This is the 4th year in a row when Brazilians will use more cane ethanol in their cars than gasoline. It's a stunning achievement. And they do not tear down the rainforest because you need a lot of topsoil to grow sugarcane. And there's not any topsoil to speak of in the rainforest. What they do, however, is force the soybean farmers and the cattle ranchers off the land that they plant into the rainforest. But here's the thing. Unlike these knockdown, drag-out special interest fights you read about in Washington, D.C. all the time, the people who produce the cane asked me to come and talk to them about how they could keep providing Brazil's cane needs without driving the soybean farmers and the cattlemen into the rainforest. Brazil cut annual rainforest destruction over the last decade by 75%, mostly by getting the commercial loggers out of the rainforest. But they've not been able to stop the nibbling erosion caused by soybean and cattle moving into it. What I suggest that they do is move a bunch of cane production to the Dominican Republic and Haiti, bring home what they needed, sell the rest to the United States because there's no tariff on it if they come from the Caribbean, and that will offset the extra transportation costs back to Brazil. May or may not be a good idea. That's not the point. The point is that they were actually trying to figure out conflicting environmental claims in a rational way. Now, this is an even better example. Earlier this year, they had a conference in Manaus about what to do about the rainforest. And they had a second environmental conflict. More than 80% of their electricity is generated by hydroelectric power. And they need more power. They want it to be clean. Problem? The only rivers left that flow strong and deep and wide enough to generate significant power are all in the rainforest. So if they build the dams for clean power, they tear down the trees. And in one case, get rid of an Indian culture that's thousands of years old, which they have tried to protect by law. Here's the important thing, the kind of thing the Club of Madrid can help to spread throughout the world. I get to this meeting, and the head of every utility, the head of every oil company, the Green Party candidate for president who finished third in the election, people representing the native tribes, the small business community, all the environmental groups, they're all there sitting calmly talking to each other, treating each other respectfully, and recognizing there is no perfect solution, committed to work through together. That's what we should be doing everywhere. I would give $1 million to see 1 week of that kind of behavior in Washington, D.C. Now, we're laughing about this, but those of us who have more or less burned out the fires of our personal ambition have a profound obligation to try to bring that kind of respectful collaboration to building strong democracies and to building governance capacity. I'm actually more optimistic than a lot of people are about where we are. America will get through this kind of crazy phase and get back to doing the right thing. Just like Churchill said, we always do the right thing after we exhaust all other alternatives. I think Europe will survive this crisis, but we need to reaffirm several basic things. The world is interdependent. We can't change it. There will be no country that will have the position we had briefly after the fall of the Berlin Wall, where for a brief moment we were the sole military, economic, and political superpower. I did everything I could when I governed in those years to try to create a world that would be good for America to live in as a leading, but not the only leading power, because I don't begrudge other people their success. And I believe intelligence and hard work are evenly distributed throughout the world. So whether we like it or not, we're going to share the future, and we have to try to create a future of shared prosperity and shared responsibilities, and a sense of shared community. Wim Kok was kind enough to quote what I was saying about people not thinking they have the absolute truth. That's one of our problems in Washington today. If you have an ideological party, then they're impervious to evidence and argument, and compromise is weakness. We actually have some hard decisions to make in America, and we need a vibrant argument between the right and the left, because both of them have something to bring. I had a great conversation with a former very conservative Republican congressman the other day who came to my office to say, I'm worried that we're not having a conversation. The Democrats are interested in fairness, and the Republicans believe in meritocracy, and what we need is a country that rewards both. And if we don't talk, how will we ever get there? So I ask you to think about this. We've gotten through 10 years now. A lot of useful things have been done. And in the current moment, it's hard to think about the good things, but infant mortality is down around the world. Not as many women die in childbirth. There has been remarkable progress on a whole plethora of fronts. More people have been moved out of poverty than in any previous period. It's just that the population is growing fastest in the areas where people are poor. We can do these things, and you can have an indispensable contributing role. But we have to build the capacity of people to take care of themselves, and we have to build the mentality of people to cooperate with others, to expand the definition of us and shrink the definition of them, within and beyond national borders. That's worth the rest of our collective lives. Every one of us got lucky. We have a saying in America for people who think that who rise very high and think they got there 100% on their own merit with no help from anybody, anything, or any institutions. That person believes he was born in a log cabin he built himself. None of us were born in a cabin we built ourselves. So I ask you to think about that. We loved government, or we wouldn't have worked so hard to get in it and stay there. And we have to build governance capacity even as we strengthen the civil society movement. The Club of Madrid is better positioned than any other organization to do both at the same time. And insofar as you can do it, the world will be a better place. Thank you very much.